Hi guys, welcome back to another video. For your information, this week we do not have Beatrice with us because Beatrice is away on a holiday event with ex-colleagues. So you're stuck with me. And for this week's video, I decided to make a drawing of Beatrice. I started off not being very confident with my skills because it has been so long since I last drew something. Anyway, stay tuned to see the results at the end. And as I go through this struggle to draw, let me tell you more about myself. I remember when I was young, I was born to a family, not a rich family, but just a normal one. Like, we had just enough to survive, and I was part of this group of people called the bananas, or banana as we call it. It refers to people who are of the Chinese descent but could not actually speak the language fluently as we want to. So we are usually anxious to speak to other of the Chinese race because we don't have a group grasp of the language. And I remember in my whole primary school, I was one of two Chinese in my whole grade. The other one person is someone who can speak the language. So I was so anxious to speak to him. I think we seldom speak to each other, only spoke to each other probably for class lessons. But outside of school, there was not much of an interaction. But as a kid, I didn't care much about this because nothing really bothers primary school kids. We don't really have much care. And whenever there's a need for talking to someone outside of school, my mother would settle it for us. So there was no need to actually be vocal. In primary school, I was mostly friends with Malay students, and that's how I developed a heavy Malay accent, which I still use till this day, as my friend told me. And later on in primary school, I did make more friends with Indians because I learned that if I were to marry a Malay girl, I would have to convert to Islam. And somehow that made me reduce my interactions with Malay students, and I started to look for alternatives in the Indians because I'm still anxious to approach Chinese students. My first interaction with computer game was when my sister brought home a floppy disk which contained the game Mario Brothers. It changed my mental limitations to what fun actually is. But the game that actually blew my mind was Pokemon. Watching my neighbor playing the game, making his character walk along Pewter City talking to NPCs, that really blew my mind, and it brought me into addiction of video games in general. We study really hard to score good grade. The reward that we got was our father bought us a PlayStation 1, which has a heavy influence in my growing up days. I learned a lot from games, and games has helped me improve my vocabulary. It also taught me how to wake up early to get the most progress on my games. But not only that, it also taught me the sense of loss when my younger brother accidentally overwrite my save data and I lost all my progress in that game. I was so broken, and I am not proud of this, but I actually need my brother in the chest. And later on, I did move on to secondary school. I noticed there are changes in me, and I was mutating into a teenager, half child, half adult. I still was very much interested in playing games, but I also did more and care more for looks maxing. I started washing my face with face wash, like Before that, what even is face wash? Hair gels, which help me set my hair in certain way. So I thought I was looks maxing, but in fact, when I look back to those days, it was so cringy. Me being half child, half adult, still playing with Yu-Gi-Oh cards, playing basketball with friends, but also at the same time developing crushes on girls. More than halfway through secondary school, my life kind of got disrupted, and because I had to move to Johor Bahru, which is the southern part of Malaysia, started school there for 4 years in total. And at that time, I become even more conscious of not being able to speak Chinese, because there's a lot of Chinese people in school. And yeah, I became very anxious there. I was in a new place alone. I didn't know much people, but I had to survive somehow. And me being an introvert, I started observing people when they speak and pay close attention, try to listen to Chinese songs and Chinese shows, trying to pick up the language by ear without having the knowledge to actually speak the language. By and by, I started understanding the language more and more, and I started to realize that actually Chinese people aren't that bad. They actually were really kind and friendly, and they tried to befriend me even though they were not confident with their English language as much as, or if not even more, than how I'm not confident in my Chinese. The lesson I picked up from this is that oftentimes we are stopped by our own fears, which are inside our own mind or inculcated in us since our youth. These fears in us are us stopping ourselves from experiencing life fully. It comes from a lack of understanding of the other party. So if we take the initiative to understand others better, and then we come to realize that actually others aren't so different from us. So I encourage you to embrace your fears, and despite of your fears, step forward to understand and to experience life in a fuller manner. Who knows, you may find your fulfillment in life. This reminds me of one of the quote that I saw from one toilet. I forgot which company or which toilet this is from. But the quote says that we should not be looking out for the days that are beautiful, but we should look out for the beauty in every day. And if you notice from the video that I'm almost done with the drawing, so I'm just finishing up some final touches. If you were wondering about the video, it's actually about 1 hour plus that I took to finish this piece, but it is sped up and it is 4 times the speed, I believe, or 8 times the speed, I think 8 times the speed. That's why it is condensed into like 9 minutes of video. Despite my lack of skill, I hope you enjoy this piece, and this is me just signing off with my name, Quest. I'll see you around.